say a few kind words about this guy because he was really the first person I contacted way back in what was it, March or something, and told him what we were thinking about doing. And he, although we had never met previously, he jumped in with both feet and provided a very useful, helpful list, and that's continued through the intervening time, and we just very gratefully appreciate it. Should I attempt to give your bio? Why not? well, what I know about him is that he started out reading 600 books at St. John's College. There are two St. John's, aren't there? One in Annapolis and the other Santa Fe, yeah. And he then decided to go to MIT. And what was your major there? Aeroastroengineering. And he has pursued that to the top of innovation at NASA headquarters and is in charge of NIAC, which is the Innovative Concepts branch of NASA. And somewhere along the line in this process, he managed to find time to carve his own cello. And there is a wonderful picture of him with the cello, which is bona fide and will no doubt be very valuable in about 500 years. And so anyway, it's a great pleasure to introduce him.
Thank you, John. But one of the things that he said was the head of innovation at NASA headquarters, and I'm pretty sure that's an oxymoron, so we should just skip over that part. See, all right, so I'm here mostly to talk about my program and a few of the things around the program that I think are really interesting. To do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Space Technology Mission Directorate at NASA. This is about a $750 million effort to develop technologies for both human exploration and scientific exploration of space. And you can see here we've got 9 programs listed. I won't go over each one. They're basically categorized into early stage, mid TRL, and then commercial partnerships along with high TRL. So the commercial partnerships are sort of spread throughout low and mid TRL. Generally speaking, and NIAC is the first on this chart, so I like this chart. There are other programs that help educational institutions, and there are other programs that help businesses to help participate with NASA, and all of these programs do excellent work, but the NASA Innovative Advanced Concepts is the program that I am privileged to run, and I'm just pleased as punch to be here today to talk to you about it. But I always like to start with this question: what is NIAC? Because innovation has a lot of definitions, right? And NASA is a very innovative place in the first place. And, especially back in the Apollo era when we were, as was said earlier this morning, here's one mission, and 7 months later we have another mission, and then, we land on the moon in 9 years, and everybody was moving super fast and doing a lot of really neat things. So over the years, we've become more risk averse, I think it's safe to say, for various reasons. But we still have a small portion of the budget made for going as far out as we can go and as fast as we can go. And what does it mean to be innovative in NIAC? So NIAC is a program to support early studies of innovative yet credible visionary concepts that could one day change the possible in aerospace. Great. I don't think I actually just said anything. All of those words, they mean something, but I'm not sure what it is. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about history. Charles Holland Duell was the U.S. Patent Commissioner for U.S. Patent and Trade Office. He supposedly said this around the turn of the century, 1900, okay? He's famous because of this statement. You can find it up on the internet, and it's very interesting that somebody from the patent office would say this. He supposedly said this when he was talking to Congress, and he then supposedly said that Congress should shut down the U.S. Patent and Trade Office because everything was invented. We don't need us anymore, right? Obviously, at NIAC, we don't think this way, or we wouldn't be here, right? We don't agree with what Duhl said, and that's because truth is stranger than fiction, you know? And truth is stranger than fiction because when we read fiction, we have to believe what we're reading, at least at some level. There has to be suspension of disbelief, right? Reality doesn't care. It can be completely unbelievable. It still happens, right? That's really it. Free to violate any norm that we humans are used to. Societal norms, there are different societies that do different things. Our society changes every day. And, you know, a famous one from 20 years back, 15 years back, all swans are white because every swan we've ever seen is white. Well, by golly, somebody went down to Australia and found a black swan and they had to rewrite the textbooks. This is sort of getting at maybe a little bit about what I think NIAC, and by the way, by extension, all of us here today, what we're trying to do is find the black swans, to make people think differently about what they do every day, to make people think that what was impossible is now possible. I think that's starting to get into NIAC. And NIAC, I think, has 3 or 4 mottos. Don't let reality get in the way of your imagination. That was the motto of the first program. NIAC was canceled in 2007. It's 2006, last studies in 2007. And then it was reborn again in 2011 with a few different parts to it by Bobby Braun when he started up the Office of the Chief Technologist. So we got a chance to make a new motto, change the possible. You've already seen that. My own personal motto, the damn fool didn't know it couldn't be done, so she went ahead and did it. Okay? By the way, my 2-year-old daughter lives by that rule, and I just try to emulate her fearless charging ahead every chance that I get. NIAC is a funny program. It encourages us to almost suspend our disbelief about reality, at least for a little while. It encourages Don Quixote to tilt at windmills. It encourages David to pick up his sling and try and take out Goliath, sometimes pretty close to literally there in this realm. It encourages people with new ideas to come in and make things better. Folks here, every single one of you have the chance to do that. That's what this meeting is about, right? Let's make things better. And that, you know, you might be paying attention, you might hear that I said 3 or 4 mottos for NIAC. That 4th motto that I mentioned before, one person can make a difference. You, all of you, can make a difference. And like it says on the slide, I'm not saying it's easy, but it is worth it. Charles Holland Duhl, by the way, never said that, what we started with. He never said that everything was invented. Samuel Sass, a historian, debunked that statement when he traced the quote back to a 1981 book. So much earlier than, or much less time alive than Holland was even around. So what did Duhl actually say to Congress? What he said in 1902 was really quite astounding. In my opinion, all previous advances in the various lines of invention will appear totally insignificant when compared with those which the present century will witness. I almost wish that I might live my life over again to see the wonders that are at the threshold. That's what we're here for. So, I don't have a whole lot more to say, actually, so I'm going to get us ahead of schedule. I forgot to start my timer, but I think I've only taken about 7 minutes. So, these are different things that we've done in NIAC. I can tell you a little bit about different ones. The radiation shielding that you see, radiation shielding, that's actually solar thermal shielding. The researcher had the goal of actually touching the sun, and he may be able to do it. Right now, the calculations say 1.5 solar radii from the center of the sun, so it's not quite touching the sun. Astronomy, foldable mirrors, on-orbit construction. We've got Tethers Unlimited here today to talk. Obviously, CubeSat technology is big now, but when we funded it in 2011 for deep space CubeSats, no one was thinking about taking CubeSats to deep space. There were just too many problems. And Marco flies by Mars this week, is it? Or is it next week? It's soon, very soon. So very exciting things that have come from the program, including at least a little bit of funding for interstellar travel. So very interesting results from that. Solar White I mentioned already. So this is right here in the middle. You see him holding a flashlight. And unfortunately, I don't have a sample and a flashlight here, because every time that he holds this flashlight up against his sample, people gasp audibly from the audience because it's so bright, reflecting 99.9% of the solar energy while simultaneously being transparent to radiating out of the spacecraft in the infrared, or yes, I think it's infrared. So that we'll hear from Siegfried Janssen tomorrow, I believe. He's looking at 10 micron thick Kapton sheets separated by spacers that hold fuel in between them for orbital debris removal, but also for other things he can talk about tomorrow. You can see it here folding around a piece of debris. What really caught my interest on this one was when he submitted his final report, the calculation says that a 1 square meter spacecraft weighing 100 grams has 15 kilometers per second of delta V in it. It can go to Mars and come back. It's absolutely incredible. So where do these come from? They're all in NIAC, Christopher Walker, LBR. So if you inflate a small balloon inside of a larger weather balloon and fly it up to the edge of the atmosphere, you can do infrared astronomy with that reflector. He was just given a follow-on funding award for $40 million to actually make this happen, which is really exciting. So what do these things have in common besides NIAC? Well, not a lot, but one of the most interesting things, you probably have missed it as we go through these different examples. This is the weather balloon, $40 million Gusto mission. They're all different. Tether's Unlimited building a large aperture system with their Spider bot, allowing packing efficiency never before seen because you can create it in space, right? So all of these are different, and NIAC has one very strange thing. We do midterm reviews of all of our concepts. Everybody is required to give us a midterm review. We bring everybody together to do that review, and we call it a symposium, actually, the NIAC Symposium every year. And this is what we're doing here today. Although it's not a review, we're bringing forth ideas. All of the ideas today have been different. As John was saying, we've had mining and what it's like to live in space. And what is really interesting about all of these things being different is that you get folks like the people here in this room today from different disciplines together and have them have a conversation. That is how you go beyond, I think. If you look back at the history of science, you'll see, patent clerk invents relativity. He was trained in physics, but you can find other examples of that. Lavoisier basically created chemistry as we know it today. He was a tax collector, an unfortunate one because he was in the French Revolution as a government employee and ended his life a few inches shorter than he started it. But Niels Bohr loved music, and when he was probing the atom with Rutherford, he found that the energy coming off of the atom was in whole number ratios, like a string vibrating, and that led directly to his model of the atom with a central core and electrons that had to be in shells, specific energy levels, because otherwise they couldn't complete a whole number of vibrations with their orbits. He might not have figured that out if he hadn't loved music as much as he did. So bringing these different disciplines in together is where creativity and where NIAC and hopefully this symposium can move things forward. So I've told you what NIAC is, maybe given you an idea of what it's about. What is it in dollars and time, and how do you propose to it? Because it sounds interesting. hopefully. Phase 1 research, 9 months, $125,000. This is meant to be an analysis turn of the crank. So is what you proposed feasible? Is it possible? Could it be done in any reasonable amount of money, or is it going to take the rest of the world's GDP for 10 years to be able to bring it to fruition? That's what you're supposed to figure out in phase 1. If you have a successful phase 1, you go on to a phase 2. Phase 2 research, up to $500,000 over 2 years. This is where Joel Sercel is. He's in the middle. He just had his midterm review a couple of months ago. 2 years, you can get some really good work done with $500K in 2 years if you're a technologist. It's still not very much money, I will admit, but it's enough to really eliminate some of the major risks or assumptions that you had to make to finish that turn of the crank in phase 1. So after phase 2, unfortunately at the moment we have no phase 3. Don't know if we'll ever get any extra funding for a phase 3. So you're kind of on your own. You have to go out and find somebody interested in your thing and figure out how to make funding work out. So pioneering concepts, developing innovation to help mankind on Earth and in space, early studies of visionary aerospace architectures, mission and systems concepts. How do I win? How do I apply? Well, come up with an innovative concept would change the way that NASA or other folks in space do business. I'm probably shouldn't say it, but I often will say to reviewers, hey, look, I know that NASA is not going to use this technology in the future, but if Elon Musk is interested in it, maybe we should fund it anyway and put the research on the shelf. We're a grant program, so we're allowed to do that. We are here for the betterment of anyone in the United States. Watch for the release of the NIAC call for proposals. It was just done in August. It will be done next August. Expect the release in August. What do you know? Pay attention to the proposal preparation instructions. That's a big one. We have to eliminate a large number of people that don't provide us with, for instance, an architecture, mission, or systems context. So because we're open to anyone to propose anything in space or even aeronautics, we ask that people put things together into a mission context. Don't just tell us that you have the newest in-space thruster. It's better than sliced bread. Well, okay, great. We don't use sliced bread in space, really, but I get what you mean. For instance, if you're using a fusion thruster, well, how big are your radiators? Because if you're going to make a fusion thruster in space and it has to compete against chemical, those radiators better not sap all of the impulse out of your system because they're so big and heavy, right? So you have to put it into a mission or systems context to let us know that this is actually going to make a real positive impact. And then tell us why it's exciting, unexplored, and credible. That's really it. That's how you propose. NIAC is a very competitive program. We receive on order of 200 proposals a year for on order 16 selections. And so we make it a little bit easier for people proposing. We do a 2-step proposal. You provide us a 3-page white paper showing us what your concept is. We're eligible to anyone in the U.S. that can receive government funding, so students can apply, garage inventors can apply. We've had 3 garage inventors win, one of whom literally is a garage inventor with an optics bench in his garage. Point of pride there. Anyone can apply, anyone can win, but the low chance of success means that we don't want to burden all these folks with a lengthy proposal. So 3-page white paper. If you're in scope and innovative enough, then we invite you to an 8-page full proposal, which includes the 3 pages of the white paper, so another 5 pages. And then we have a team of expert panel reviewers or technical panel reviewers review those concepts. So that's all I have. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.